Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to my Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to build in the world of Henford-on-Bagley, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack of Sims 4 Cottage Living, and I'm going to be building a Hobbit Hole, which is pretty much a house in a hill. So this house ends up having one bedroom and one bathroom, and it's built on a 40 by 30 lot. Even though it's only got one bedroom, by the way, I purposely built it in case you wanted to have more bedrooms. There is like a little home, study, office nook area that could easily be transformed into a bedroom, but just for the way that I decorated it, yeah, it's only got one bedroom. But this week I am building a Hobbit house, which is something that I have never built before. And the way that this came about was actually a comment from one of you guys. In case you didn't see it, last week I built a post-apocalyptic settlement in the world of Moonwood Mill, and I got a comment and someone said that they really liked it, which thank you, but then they also said that it got them thinking about building a cute Hobbit house, and it could have like a cellar with like loads of food and stuff. And I just got really inspired by this comment, and so thank you so much if that was you that left this comment. And so I thought, I'm gonna give it a go. I've never done it before. Let's just see how it works out. And yeah, I'm really happy with this. It's literally like a little house in a hill, and yeah, I'm really proud of it, and so I hope you like it as well. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So you can see the shape of this build has come together already, and it looks really weird. You're going to have to bear with me. It's one of them trust the process kind of situations, because the way that I've currently built the house, the majority of the roofing on the second level is floating in the air, but I knew that I'd be eventually leveling it down into the terrain, and so all them floating roof pieces, eventually they will pretty much match the terrain floor and they won't be floating. I'm also built it this way round because I'm thinking, once I have sped the footage up, I didn't want it to be a little bit too much to watch, because if I would have started off by building the house and then pretty much from the get-go pushed it into the floor, and then I tried to roof it, and then I tried to put the wallpaper onto the bits that are in the floor, I knew that it would just be a bit of a mess. Like, I knew that it would just be, especially to watch sped up, it would just be, I'll be all over the place. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to build the structure, I'm going to build the walls, I'm going to roof it, do the wallpapering, so that's all fine and dandy. And then once I've got that settled, I'll then decide to push it into the floor, which you can see at this point, it is now very much in the middle of the terrain. I've already come in and started doing a few little hilly bits around it as well, but I wanted to get kind of like a rough bearings of how the hill was going to look. And again, yeah, it's just very much trust the process, because the hill that I've currently placed around it, or like the way that I've shaped the terrain, it doesn't look the best. I sort it out. I just wanted to kind of get a rough idea of how it was going to look. I end up smoothing it out. I end up placing down loads of different shrubs and bushes and flowers and weeds and everything to kind of like cover over it. And in the end, I mean, I think it looks like a little house that's built into a hill, but currently right now, as you can see, I'm just coming in and figuring out the floor plan for this one. Now, where I was very much aware that I'm building in a block of terrain, the way that I tried to figure out the floor plan, I tried to make it as easy as I could possible for gameplay purposes. Now, when it comes around to whenever I play the game myself, I am always someone that plays in half wall up, half wall down mode, and I feel like a lot of people are the same. Maybe it's just me, but I really struggled to play with all the different walls up, just because you have to turn the camera more than necessary. It's a bit of a faff when you play with all the walls up. And so the way that I tried to do the floor plan and almost place all the different objects and furniture pieces on the inside, I tried to do it so when you are in half walls up, half walls down mode, it's the easiest for gameplay. You'd initially walk in through the front door and you've got like a nice little hallway section. You've got the staircase which leads downstairs. But if you go through the hallway, you enter into the kitchen. In the kitchen, there also ends up being like a little dining table. And then off that, on the left-hand side, I made it so this house has a little pantry. And in the pantry, I placed down loads of different canned goods. So we've got custard, and we've got preservatives, and we've got like tomato sauce. We've got all these different things that your Sims can make with the canning skill, but that is in the little pantry area. Also placed down, I think it's called a cauldron. You know the Realm of Magic game pack where your Sims can make potions if they're a spellcaster? We've got this cauldron thing, but your Sims can also make food in there. And so I thought, hobbits apparently love a bit of grub, and so I'm going to make it so they can make like a massive serving of mac and cheese or chili or something. And so yeah, I placed down a cauldron into the pantry, and then just off the kitchen as well, we have like a little lounge seating area. And then you go downstairs, we have the main bedroom, and kind of like the only one bedroom in this house. But then I was thinking, the way that I built this house, it might be a bit tricky if at one point your Sims get pregnant. You know, where are you going to put the baby? I mean, of course you could always just put like a little crib in the main bedroom, but I just thought, well, when the baby ages up, where you gonna, you know, it's not ideal. And so I thought, where is the house that you probably couldn't easily expand on? It definitely had a basement. Basement will be piece of cake, but if you wanted it to be in a room that's got natural daylight coming in, I thought for your gameplay easiness, if that's even a word, I'm just gonna make it so it's got a little home office, and then yeah, if you want to, and your Sims, they fall pregnant, there is an extra bedroom if you fancy. There is also a bathroom downstairs as well, but the bathroom isn't that. Actually, no, it is quite cute. I placed down a stained glass window into the bathroom, but I have a wooden bathtub, and I tried to make it look like around it was all very like Hobbit-y, and it's got all these different wooden beams and ivy coming down. It's very pretty in there. But yeah, there is also a bathroom. But currently, as you can see, I'm just coming in and doing a little bit of landscaping around the build. Now, I was a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie to you, when it came around to actually figuring out how I was gonna make it look like. This house is in a hill, and it ended up being very kind of dependent on the landscaping. Now, for the landscaping, I mainly just use live edit and debug menu items. Whenever I do landscape any of my builds, I rarely ever dig into the regular build and buy, just because the live edit and debug menu landscaping items, they're nicer to look at, they come in some more swatches, and also they're free. They don't cost your Sims any money, and so it's a bit of a bonus. So you can see currently I've placed down loads of different big shrubs and bushes. I've placed down a few bits of hydrangeas, also plopped down a little bit of ivy that's kind of like draping over one of the windows. And then you can see around both the front door and then also one of the windows in the lot, I've done a bit of a semicircle kind of situation. Now, I'm just going to say it, I'm going to admit it to you, I have never seen The Hobbit. I didn't really know what a hobbit was, and it wasn't until this week that I got educated, which, by the way, fun fact, a hobbit is meant to be a really small character that's got hairy feet. That is Google's definition of a hobbit, so I was picturing the Sim that lives here has got really hairy feet. They also do love food. Apparently they spend the majority of their days just eating, which, I mean, that's kind of funny, Sam. But I focus a lot of the build on eating and also gardening as well, because that is something that apparently hobbits can do. Don't worry, I have done my research on hobbit activities. Like this past week I've been researching, what does a hobbit look like, what do they get up to, what do they like to do in their spare time. And even when it came around to decorating each of the individual rooms, I didn't want to do it wrong, and so for every single room I'd be searching up like, what does a hobbit hallway look like, or what does a hobbit pantry or kitchen or bedroom look like. And my Google's probably really confused right now because it's thinking that I'm probably going through something. But yeah, I've never seen The Hobbit, which feels really silly because I'm doing a Hobbit build, but I have noticed that whenever you do see Hobbit houses on Pinterest or on Google, all of them have got circular doors. And the thing is, in The Sims 4, we just don't have that. We have a few front doors or like interior doors that are a little bit like semicircle on the top portion, but it doesn't really give the illusion. You might have noticed when I first did the front door entrance area, I did start off by placing one of them down. The one that I initially went for was one that we got from the Cottage Living expansion pack, but then I remembered that in doing a little bit of research on hobbits and, you know, like hobbits, how they live and what their houses look like and stuff, I actually ran into a video by a fellow Sims 4 builder called Marmalade. I will be linking their channel in the description box down below, but they had also previously built a Hobbit Hole, and in their build they used these like wall decoration, wall sculpture things that we got from base game, and they basically curved them around the front door, and it gives the same illusion, like it gives the illusion that it's meant to be a circle front door. I just thought it was really clever. And so yeah, I definitely got that idea from Marmalade. Like I said, I will be linking them in the description box down below. I'll link their video and then I'll also link their channel as well. But they're into like stop motion, if that's something that you're into as well. But really good builder, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. But yeah, I basically got these wall decorations and did a bit of a circle around the front door. You would have seen the way that I did it. I placed down a big circular window that we got from the Realm of Magic game pack, and then basically used that as a bit of a map, a bit of a guideline for how I was going to like 3D place down these wall decorations. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a circle, honestly. The way that I draw a circle, I cannot draw a circle. Both in the game with like terrain paint, but then also just with a pencil. Like I feel like drawing a circle is one of the hardest things to draw. But yeah, if I wouldn't have used something to help guide the little like wall decorations, it would have been all over the place. And so yeah, you would have seen I just used a window, used it as my rough guideline, and then placed down the wall decorations. Once I was happy, I then just deleted it. But currently, as you can see over here, I just placed down some stepping stones, kind of like leading up one side of the house. Now, the way that I tried to make it feel, I don't know if I actually successfully did it, but I wanted to give the illusion that the garden of this house is pretty much on their roof. There does end up being almost like two side gardens. You can see that I've started off with the one on the left hand side, and what I just did is I went into the terrain manipulation tool and I got the one which is the upwards arrow and just pretty much just created a slope going up on the left hand side of the house. You would see as well, I've currently placed down some planters there, and I made sure that the terrain was completely flat, because if I would have placed down some gameplay objects and they would be floating, then it would be kind of like unusable. So I kind of plopped down some planters as kind of like a rough guideline for myself, for a bit of like a measurement for space. And then the stepping stones themselves, at the minute, don't worry, I'll do something out because they look a bit shaky, but I initially came in and started placing down them into the terrain and then using the tool mod to elevate them down to make them look like actual stepping stones. They're actually not. It's actually just a coffee table that we got from the Outdoor Retreat game pack. But I wanted to have some sort of like little pebble path leading up to the garden area. And we do have some stepping stones in the live edit menu, but they're completely flat. And I knew that if I wanted to level them down into the terrain so they wouldn't be floating, it would just be a whole mess. Like, it would just be a whole faff. And so I thought, I'm going to use this coffee table from Outdoor Retreat. I never use it, but where it's really thick, if I wanted to level it down into the terrain, I've got a little bit more space to work with. And so I initially placed it down and then elevated them into the floor. But then I realised that I actually needed to figure out how the front garden was going to look. And so for a second, they're going to be floating. Don't worry, I do sort them out because they look a bit bad right now. But as well as that, in front of it, I ended up making it so this little Hobbit Hole has a pond in its front garden. Now, I must admit, in my, it sounds silly to say, but in my research of Hobbit houses and Hobbit holes, not a lot of the ones that I did see on Pinterest and on Google had any water in front of them. I did see this one, and it had like a bridge, and it had a little bit of water underneath. I'll see if I can find the picture for you, and I'll pop it up on the screen. But I more so placed down the pond just because I needed something to fill out the space in the front garden, and I thought it looked really nice. And I was thinking, well, maybe this Hobbit house doesn't have plumbing on the inside of it. Be quite hard because it is built into a hole, and so maybe the way that the sim that lives in this house collects all the different water from the pond to use on the inside. So say for example, if they want to make a cup of tea, maybe they'll go outside with like a little bucket and they'll gather some water, pop inside, pop it on the hob, boil it, because, you know, sterilisation and stuff, and then they make a cup of tea out of it. Or maybe when they want to have a wash, when they want to have a bath, maybe they just collect all the different pond water and use it on the inside. I mean, it is a little bit of a silly thought, and like I said, I'm also placed it to almost like fill out the front garden, but I think it looks really nice. And I placed down this watercolour that looks like it's got all these different like leaves and random twigs and like random bits and bobs that basically accumulated over time in the water. I then also placed down a little log in the middle of the pond, and then in gameplay you can click on it and you can enable a turtle to hop onto that log. And so when I was coming in and I was playtesting and I was taking screenshots, there was a little turtle just sitting on that log. It was really cute. But you can see by this point on the other side, because now I'm just currently doing a little bit of terrain manipulation on the right, but I finally settled in them stepping stones into the terrain. So like I said, them stepping stones that I've used kind of like leading up to the left hand side garden, they are actually just coffee tables. Now, if you're curious, the playability of this house, it is fully functional. I have playtested it thoroughly. Like, I've made sure that everything works. When I was coming around and playtesting it, I did notice though that your Sims don't step over them stepping stones. They'll more so walk around the terrain on either the left hand side or the right hand side. And it does make sense because I didn't use like a live edit object. I literally used a coffee table as a stepping stone. But your Sims can still get up to the garden. They just won't walk on the stepping stones. But I didn't really mind it. He gave me the illusion of your Sims are stepping up there and they're going to go and tend to their plants and stuff. But you can see over here, I've placed down some live edit fences to kind of like wrap in this little garden planter section. The garden planters that I used, they are the ones that we got from the Werewolves game pack. And I like these ones because they look a little bit more handmade. We do have some handmade ones in the game that I could have placed down. But even though they're meant to be handmade, they still look a little bit too fancy for my liking. And on the interior of this build as well, like I wanted it to really feel like a Hobbit's house. Like a lot of the furniture has been crafted, and them garden planters, yeah, they just look like they've been crafted from the little woodworking table. Because by the way, actually, I forgot to mention this, but there is gameplay in this house, not just like for looks. There is activities and there's different things that your Sims can interact with, and one of them is a woodworking table, where I had this idea that a lot of the furniture has been crafted by the little hobbit that lives here. I made sure that in the home office I placed down a woodworking table, and then also there's other stuff like there's TVs, there is also bookcases, there is multiple different garden planters, there's laundry like I said, and then there is also the cauldron. Now, from my understanding, hobbits aren't actually magical, which I actually did not know that. I thought hobbits could do some like witchy stuff. They can't, apparently. They just like to eat food. But I was thinking if you wanted to, and I'd probably do this, I'd probably make it so the Sim that lives in this house would potentially be a spellcaster and they just live in a hole in the floor. And so you could definitely use the cauldron that I placed down into the pantry as somewhere for your Sims to, yeah, make some potions. But currently over here, as you can see, I'm just pretty much finishing up the exterior portion. I placed down a little campfire as well as some more garden planters as well as a barbecue grill. I placed down a grill because I knew when it comes around to playtesting the garden planters, I wanted to purposely place down harvestables that your Sims can make herbal remedies from. To me, it just seems very hobbity. Like, to make your own medicine, that is just something that I feel like a hobbit would do. Again, like I said, I've never seen the Hobbit, but it just made sense in my mind. And so I made sure that there was a little grill that, yeah, your Sims can make all these different medicines on. I feel like I say this in a lot of my speed builds anyway, but I have pre-planted all the different planters on this lot. I pre-planted them with things that I feel like a hobbit would grow, so please don't be expecting like lilies and roses and, you know, like all pretty flowers. I'm also placed down like carrots and potatoes and all the different stuff that we've got from the outdoor retreat game pack, so like different poison leaves and chamomile and all these different mushrooms. And I placed down a lot of like hobbity, which is a weird word, but a lot of like hobbit related harvestables, if that makes any sense. And yeah, I've already pre-planted them, more so because I just wanted to play test them, but then also it kind of goes along with the build. It kind of matches the aesthetic that I was going for. But one last thing that I wanted to mention in the front garden of this build, which I kind of spoke over, is I placed down a little rabbit hole. So in gameplay, you'll notice that there's little tiny bunny rabbits like hopping around, and it's just really sweet because bunny rabbits in The Sims 4, they help your Sims with gardening. And I felt like where there is so many different garden planters on this lot, it might be quite handy if the hobbit that lives here is mates with the rabbits. And so yeah, I placed down a little rabbit hole. But currently, as you can see, I've now moved on into the inside of the build, and I'm currently focusing on the front door area. So by the front door on the inside, I still wanted to have that same illusion of having almost like a circular front door entrance. And so you would have seen I initially came in and tried to place down these wall decoration pieces in the same motion as what I did on the exterior, but for some reason when I was placing them down near the bottom portion of the wall, like near the floor, if you want to put it that way, they were going a bit of a weird colour and I didn't understand why. And so in the end, I basically duplicated the room on the exterior and then moved it on into the inside. I basically copied and pasted the wall. That way, it wasn't intentional, but that way, on the outside and the inside, the circles go in the exact same way, and so it looks a little bit more realistic. But in this front initial hallway, I placed down this shelving unit. You see the one that's got like little baskets and like a little fossil one? That was actually meant to be something that you're meant to hang on a shelf. But I sized it up because I thought it might look quite cool as like a little side table. So I sized it up with the tool mod, and then I placed down like a little picnic basket on it. I placed down some candles, a fossil, random knickknacks, random bits and bobs. And then next to it, I placed down a fireplace. By the way, there is a fireplace in every single room in this build. Something that I found when I was researching like Hobbit holes and Hobbit houses. Love a fireplace. And so in every single room in this build, there is a fireplace, and so it's proper cosy in here. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the kitchen. Now, like I said, when it came around to decorating the inside of this house, I just relied on Google and Pinterest to help me decorate, because I've never seen The Hobbit or any Hobbit spin-off. Am I right in thinking that, and this might sound really stupid, but am I right in thinking The Hobbit is initially from The Lord of the Rings, and then there was like a movie made off the back of that, and they go on a bit of an adventure or something? I've seen the meme of it, but I've never seen the actual film, but I'm pretty sure that it's got its own spin-off show or something. But either way, I've never seen it. And so, like I said, when it came around to decorating the inside of this house, I was so worried that I was going to do it wrong, and so I heavily relied on Google and Pinterest for each one of the rooms. And so when it came round to decorating the kitchen, it ends up being a little bit of like a Frankenstein kitchen of all these different images that I've seen on Google and kind of like merged into one. Something that I noticed is there is a lot of like open shelving units, and so at first I was going to have it so there was going to be 3 shelves on the wall, but then in the end I end up deleting the 2 shelves that kind of like stacked upon each other. I delete them ones and replace it with some pots and pans. But we do have a pantry, so there is lots of different like open shelving in there. But in this kitchen I decided to go for the Horse Ranch expansion pack kitchen counters. I then used a base game oven and fridge, but then I've decided for the sink unit I was going to use one that we got from the Laundry Day Stuff pack. Now we do have a sink that we got from the Horse Ranch DLC that I could have used as the kitchen sink, but it was just looking a little bit too prim and proper for my liking, because going back to when I was decorating the inside this house, I really had this idea that a lot of the different furniture pieces and a lot of the different stuff in here has been almost like handmade by the little hobbit that lives in this house. Maybe he, she, they, I'm not sure their gender, but maybe the sim that lives in this house, maybe, yeah, they spend a lot of their time crafting all these different sculptures and all these different furniture pieces for their little Hobbit hole or something. And so I felt like having a matching sink to the kitchen counters just looked a little bit too put together for my liking, and so I decided to use one that we got from the Laundry Day Stuff pack. It looks like it's got a bucket with like kitchen roll, some sort of detergent underneath it. It was kind of like a little bit more what I was going for, and so yeah, I decided to place that down into here. I did also merge in some used teacups and then also some kitchen plates into the sink itself. Looks like they've been recently having a meal and they just haven't done the washing up. Again, going back to apparently hobbits love a bit of food, and so I was thinking that would probably be something that you would find in this kitchen. But if you're curious, even though I did merge in them mugs and then plates into the sink, still fully functional. Your Sims can still wash their hands and brush their teeth if they want to. I don't know why you would want to brush your teeth in your kitchen sink. You have got a sink downstairs in your bathroom, but the option is still there. It's still usable. But also in this kitchen as well, I came through and I placed down this little scale on one side of the kitchen counters. The scale itself is kind of in the corner. It's the gold one by the cookbook, but that is from the Realm of Magic game pack, and I like the idea of it being some sort of little like kitchen scale or something. So I'll place that down, and then you might be able to tell, but in the inside of the scale I try to place down different harvestables that maybe your sim has recently picked up from their garden. And so I'll place down, I think, sage, tomato, and then also I think a potato as well, but I merge them into the kitchen scale. And then also in the kitchen, going back to every single room has a fireplace, there is this massive one that I placed down that is from the Cottage Living DLC. I tried to make it look like there was almost these different herbs and flowers that was hanging off almost like the mantelpiece on the fireplace. The ones that I've used are from the Journey to Batuu game pack, and then on the top of the fireplace on the mantelpiece I cluttered it with random knickknacks. I placed down some books, I placed down a random sculpture of a chicken. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if this is true, but in my head hobbits just love stuff. They love collecting things, and so there's random knickknacks in this house. Pre-warning, but there's just random decorations, but it kind of goes, like, kind of matches the aesthetic of a little hobbit's house. And so yeah, I placed down like a sculpture of a chicken on the mantelpiece. And something that I need to mention, because it's annoying me looking back on the footage, and I can't believe I didn't realise it when I was filming, but on the top of the fireplace you might have noticed there was 3 pink water bottles. Basically, whenever I clutter any sort of surface in the game, whether it be a kitchen counter, whether it be a bedside table, a wardrobe, a computer desk, no matter the surface that I want to clutter up, I always like to place my own clutter in my own placements, because a lot of the different surfaces that we have in the game almost have like auto-fill slots for the clutter to go, but sometimes I want clutter to sit in a different formation than what the game wants it to do. And so I will basically come in and use this little pink water bottle to almost like auto-fill up them slots. And basically, when I was decorating that fireplace, for some reason, there are some slots on the top of the fireplace. And I came in and I placed down the ones on like the main mantelpiece where I placed down like the random chicken and stuff. And then once I'd freely cluttered it up, I deleted the pink water bottles on that section, but completely disregarded the pink water bottle that was on the top of the fireplace. And I forgot about it. And as soon as I finished recording that room and I stopped recording, I noticed that there was 3 pink water bottles on the top portion, and it was annoying me. And so if you notice that, don't worry, they're not there anymore. I realised as soon as I stopped filming, but I did just want to mention that. Also in that kitchen though, you would have seen I placed down a little dining room table. On the dining room table, I placed down some loaves of bread, I placed down like a little teapot and some little cups, as well as some candlesticks, and then also this new decoration that we got from the most recent kit, the artist kit, and it looks like it's got some sort of water jug and then also some fruit. But currently, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the pantry. So currently, I'm focusing on this little like shelving unit situation. So over here, I placed down these wine cellar. They're meant to be like storage nooks for your Sims bottles of wine, but I placed them down into the lower portion. And then the upper portion, I placed down these shelves that we got from the book Nook Kit. And you can see I came in and I placed down loads of different jams, and I placed down these little wicker baskets that have got like all these different mushrooms and potatoes in. It is so cutesy in this room. But also placed down some logs on the top portion, and then sacks of what I was thinking could be potatoes or sacks of soil, maybe for the gardening outside. I then also placed down these little barrels that we got from the Horse Ranch DLC. Maybe they've got some sort of, well, I don't know actually, what do hobbits drink? Lager? Do hobbits drink lager? No, that's not right. Wine? I don't know what it is, but it looks like some sort of beverage situation. I placed them down into there. I just made it feel like some sort of, little hobbit pantry, and I just feel like it looks so cutesy in here. But I also placed down a series of them different wall decorations around the window, and then in front of it I placed down this big massive pot, which is pretty much a cauldron that your Sims, if they're a spellcaster, can make potions in. But if you're just someone who is a regular Joe, regular kind of Sim, they can also cook really large batches of food in. Now, going back to when I was researching into hobbits this past week, it sounds so silly saying about it, but honestly my Google is probably really confused right now. But when I was researching hobbits, I was really quite surprised to find out that they're not magical. They're just really small characters that have got really hairy feet. Really made me laugh when I found that out. But yeah, apparently they're not meant to be magical. But for my own personal gameplay, if ever I was to play in this house, which I feel like I actually might at one point, but I feel like if ever I was to play in this house, I'd make it so a spellcaster lives here, because it does feel a little bit spellcastery to me in a way, like a little bit magical, Your house is in a hill. How does that work? So it does feel like it's got some element of magic to it. But I was thinking, if you wanted to and you just wanted to have like a regular Joe, regular kind of Sim live here, it'll be a really good place to place down this cauldron, because hobbits apparently love food. And on that cauldron, your Sims can make hefty servings. They can make servings of mac and cheese, chili, and there is one more and I can't remember what it is, but there might be more depending on your Sims cooking skill. But basically, normally whenever you get your Sims to cook in the kitchen, the max amount of servings that they can make is normally 8, but with the cauldron, your Sims can make a serving of 12. It does make sense because look at the size of it. It is massive. It's not like a normal saucepan that you can put on the grill, and so it does make sense. But I just thought it'd be so perfect for this little room, and so I decided to place it down. Also in this room as well, I placed down some barrels into the corner. I placed down some boxes, some more random sacks of potatoes, and then again there is another fireplace in here. I did move objects, some spellcaster like magic spell books onto the fireplace. It's what I'm currently doing right now, and you might notice I also do this in some other areas of the build. Again, they're not meant to be magical hobbits, but I just kind of like the decoration of the spell books. I feel like they look quite hobbity, so I place them down into a series of different rooms. But I also do place down a one tile bar situation in this room as well, because I like the idea of the hobbit that lives here, loves a bit of food, loves a bit of gardening, also loves a drink. And so I was like, I want there to be somewhere where your Sims could make some sort of beverage. And I tried a one tile bar, but the one tile bar that we got in the game, doesn't really match the aesthetic of a Hobbit's house, but we do have a glow bar that we got from the vintage Glamour Stuff pack, and your Sims can make platters of all these different fancy, I think they're meant to be scotches or whiskey or something, but I place it down into the pantry, and so yeah, if your Sims want to, they can have a hefty serving of mac and cheese and also have a whiskey whilst they're doing it. But I finished up that room, and now you can see I've now moved over into the next room on this level, which is the lounge room. So in here I used the same fireplace that I placed down into the kitchen, the one that we got from the Cottage Living DLC, and you can see already that I've already auto-filled the pre-existing clutter spots, if you want to put it that way, by placing down the pink water bottles. Don't worry, where it was already in my head that I didn't delete them in the kitchen, I made sure that I deleted all the different pink water bottles on this fireplace. But I basically came in and then it moved objects, some paintings onto the fireplace, almost like breast, is that the right terminology? Basically, the fireplace itself, it kind of comes out of the wall and it's got some sort of like brick surface, and you can leave it like that, but I feel like it's a little bit plain and boring, and so whenever I use this fireplace I always like to move objects of painting on top of it. The way that you do it is you just put the painting on the wall behind it. You can just like delete a wall and then try and angle it so then it'll be sitting in the fireplace, but I just basically place the painting behind the fireplace and then using the tool mod I gravity pull it away and then make it look like it's sitting on the fireplace. Going back to when I was building this, I was being very mindful of half wall up, half wall down mode. So don't worry, when you're in half wall up and half wall down mode, nothing's going to be weirdly floating. Like, I had this in my mind because, again, I might actually play in this house with a little spellcaster or something. But in here, as you can see, I have currently placed down a 3-seater sofa and then 2 odd armchairs. Currently, the armchairs that I have placed down have both got really high backs because in my mind, I'm thinking if I'm a hobbit and I want you to sit on a chair in a really cosy little lounge room, I like the idea of having like a really big tall armchair that you can get all like snuggly in, and you know, if there's a draft, it's not going to get to you because you've got a really high back. It sounds silly, but it was just what I was thinking. And so I tried to place down 2 high back armchairs, but I just didn't like the way I was looking. And so I ended up placing down 1 rocking chair and then 1 almost like leather looking armchair. Both of them are from the Horse Ranch DLC. I liked the idea that they had the similar little like pillows on the seating area itself, but the actual armchairs didn't match. And then I decided to place down the Werewolves 3-seater sofa as well. But also in this room that ends up being pretty much a whole wall full of bookcases. The ones that I've used are from the Nook Kit. I use 2 pretty much like full ones either side, and then the one in the middle, I use the version of it where you can kind of put your own clutter and your own little knickknacks in, and so I placed down like random boxes, a random elephant sculpture. I also placed down like a little plant pot and stuff, and then in the middle of the room I wanted there to be some sort of, honestly, table that I was picturing that the hobbit that lives in this house could eat off. And so I placed down this coffee table. The one that I've used is from the Basement Treasures kit. And then I ended up placing down some wine bottles on it. I placed down, I think, a loaf of fruit cake off memory, some candles and little baskets, like random knickknacks, random bits and bobs. And then I also scattered about some odd books in that room, as well as a few different plants and also a couple of different cobwebs as well. But now moving over, you can see that I've now moved on to the downstairs portion of this build. I'm currently coming in and decorating the bathroom. I feel like I severely underplayed this bathroom when I was giving you almost like the rundown of the interior of this house, because it ends up being, honestly, really sweet and kind of magical in a way. The screenshots that I've got in this room, it just looks so jubbly in here. I placed down the fireplace as well into this room, and so when I was taking the screenshots, the fireplace is on, and then you have like this warm yellow glow from the fireplace, and it looks like a bath that you want to get in and you want to have like a cup of tea and read it, which actually some people might find that weird. I often have a cup of tea when I have a bath. I know it's a bit strange because you're in hot water and you're drinking hot water pretty much, but I love a cup of tea in the bath. But I placed down this wooden bathtub. The one that I've used is from the Horse Ranch DLC. And then you might notice I did a little bit of a trick with the window behind the bathtub, because initially I wanted to have some sort of circular window. And then I was thinking, well, with the Cottage Living expansion pack, we've got these really nice stained glass windows that have almost like little creatures on the inside of them. Now, initially, and you'll see my thought process in a minute, because I do a very similar thing in the home office. So in case you missed how I did this circular window, I'm going to do it in the next room. But basically, initially, my idea was I want to have a nice big circular window that's got some sort of stained glass situation. I like the ones that we've got from Cottage Living, but I can't size them up, because if you size up a window in the game, you have almost like a weird cut out in the wall where the original window size would be. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully follow along with me. And so I was thinking, well, with the Cottage Living expansion pack, in the live edit menu, we do have these little circular windows. I'll just use one of them. And so you would have seen, behind this big stained glass window with a beam, there is a regular size window that we got from the Realm of Magic game pack. I placed it down initially because I was still thinking, well, I still want there to be some sort of natural daylight coming into this room, so I placed down the one that we got from Realm of Magic, and then I got the live edit window and basically sized it up to be the same size and the same proportions as the one that was already into the window. So basically to size it up to be the same window frame size. And I was thinking, this is great, you know, this is a live edit window, but I've actually made it look like an actual window, and it will function like a normal window because there's an already existing one behind it. That was a bit wordy, hopefully that makes sense. But basically, I had this idea of, yeah, I'll just use a live edit window. Then I moved over to this next room, which you can see is the home office. And I wanted to have, again, another stained glass window. But in the live edit menu, them stained glass windows with all the little creatures in, there's only one dark brown swatch, and it's the one of a bee, which is what I used in the bathroom. And I didn't want to use the same window. And so in here, I was like, oh, I'll just use the actual window that we've got in the game, the one that when you size it up has a bit of a weird cutout. And so I sized that one up, and then with the tool mod, I was able to elevate it down into the ground, and so that little weird cutout, it disappeared anyway. So I didn't even have to use a live edit window to start off with. I could have just used a regular window, because by the time I elevate it down, you can't even see that weird cutout, and where there's a window behind it already, there's still going to be natural daylight coming in. I feel like that was a bit wordy, and I really hope you're following along with me, but basically, to cut a long story short, I was a bit of a silly Billy. I just thought I was being really smart by placing down a regular window and then move objects in a live edit stained glass window in front of it to give the illusion. And I was thinking, well, where it's a live edit window, you're not going to be able to see that weird cutout. But then once I moved over to this room, I just realised, well, hang on, I can just use a regular window on top of the other window, so you still have all the natural daylight coming in. It was my thought process. I don't know, a bit silly Billy, but either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the home office. So like I said, when I was building this house, when I was decorating it, I was thinking, well, this isn't really a house that you would be easily able to expand on in case your Sims have children. Now, the reason why I'm saying this and the reason why this thought was in my head is recently I have started playing it with a new Sim, right? She moved to the city of San Marino. I will get back to the build. I'm going to make this quick, but basically, this is my thought process. Moved to the city of San Marino, beautiful, nice little one bed, one bathroom apartment. She fell pregnant with her, it's actually quite drama filled, with her boss's baby. Boss is married, by the way, with a wife and kids, but she fell pregnant with her boss's baby. She only lives in a one bedroom, one bathroom apartment. Now I'm going for a whole faff of having to get her to move out, and so I was thinking, in case that happens to you and you live in this house, or your Sims do, I just want there to be an optional room that you can transform into a second bedroom if need be. It's just like a little home office section. It's got a computer desk in there. It's also got a typewriter. It looks like it's meant to be just something that your Sims can write letters on, but it functions as a regular computer. There is also, again, another fireplace in that room, and it also placed down a bookcase and then the woodworking table. But I feel like it's not essential for a Hobbit's house, but it was more so a bit of a shift about room if you need it, to put it that way. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've already now moved on into the bedroom of this house. The home office was very short and sweet, but in here, as you can see, this room is on a diagonal. Now, going back to when I was building this whole house, I was really trying to make it so when you're in half walls up, half walls down mode, it's going to be the easiest for gameplay. And when it came around to figuring out how I was going to do the diagonal wall section, I was a bit worried because diagonals in The Sims 4 are a little bit tricky to work with. Currently, the bed is on a diagonal. I end up shifting it, so it ends up laying kind of straight up alongside the wall. I initially came in and placed down almost like a little platform foundation nook behind the bed, and initially I had this idea of, oh, I can clutter it up, but then I was thinking, it's just not it. And so I end up moving the bed around this formation. The bed that I've used in here is from the Outdoor Retreat game pack. I never use this bed, but it's very Hobbit-y. Like, it looks like Hobbit has made that, doesn't it? If you look at it, it's just basically sticks put together and then a mattress on top of it. And so I used this bed from Outdoor Retreat. And then initially where I was going to place down the bed, I ended up placing down this chest that we got from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. And it looks like it's got all these different books on top of it. I then placed down a little love seat in front of the big circular window. I did the same thing that I've been doing throughout the rest of the build with using them base game little like nubs. I don't know what they're called, but you see them little circular things around the window. I placed them down in front of this window as well. And then I also decided to drape some curtains onto the window. I was thinking where it is a bedroom and it is kind of situated at the front of the lot, it might be ideal if you have some curtains. And so, yeah, it's one of the many few windows that I actually placed down some curtains in. But also in this room, again, we have another fireplace. Also ended up placing down a little wardrobe in here. And one thing that I wanted to mention is when it came around to playtesting this room, I had a bit of a mare. Don't worry, it ends up being functional. But basically, I was trying to get my sim to go around the edge of the bed, which is closest to where the love seat is. And it looked to me that there was enough space for your sims to get around there. And I mean, to be fair to myself, there is plenty of space for my sims to get around there. But when I was playtesting, I always get my sims to like sit on every single seat. I like to get them to playtest every single mirror, sleep on both sides of the bed. Even if it's only going to be one sim living here, they might have a partner. They might have their friends coming over for a sleepover or something. I always like to playtest both sides of the bed. But when I was trying to get my sim to sleep on the side of the bed where the love seat is, for some reason, I could not even click on the floor to click go here. I then figured out there is some ivy on the exterior of the build, but it's sitting on the bit of the roof that kind of covers up the little love seat portion. Basically, to cut a very long story short, I ended up having to delete that ivy and then replace another bit of ivy but level it really high into the ground initially. So you know when you're building on the grid, I basically placed it down onto the grid really high up and then I was able to level it down into the floor. Then that way the ivy is in the exact same placement, but then your sims could get around the side of the bed. Honestly, I was pulling my hair out. I could not figure out for the life of me what was going wrong. I replaced down all of them little like nubs around the window because I thought it was that. I placed down the love seat again. I deleted the books. I had a right faff, but in the end, it looks the exact same. It was just literally a bit of ivy, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that. But either way, as you can see, I'm pretty much now just coming in and finishing up the bedroom. In the bedroom, there was kind of like a little weird diagonal nook, which I kind of made into a bit of a dressing room. In the dressing room, I wanted to mention one thing. I did place down some mirrors, and they look like they've got all these different photo frames kind of leaning towards them. In front of that, I placed down loads of different boxes and loads of different like clutter pieces. It's just kind of like random junk. I placed them down knowing that the mirror wasn't going to be functional, but I just wanted to kind of let you know. I feel like it's a bit of a given, just the way that I placed down the mirror. It was more so for the decorational purposes, but either way, as you can see moving over, I've now come in and started decorating the last section of this build, which is the downstairs hallway. So down here, I end up placing down a little side table. We end up having like a little mirror on top of it, and then also, once again, in this room, there is a final fireplace, which I placed down into the corner on almost like a bit of a diagonal. I then also move objects, some like logs onto the wall to try and make it look like loads of different wood to yet be burned, and then I placed down at 2 little armchairs. But other than that, I'm going to go around, finish it off, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.